Tell us something about Sarah Palin's tenure as governor that you think is telling about her leadership style that most of us outside of Alaska wouldn't know about.
Well, for one thing, the absence of cabinet meetings, not that being a great leader requires cabinet meetings. As you know, many of those are pro forma and just television events, and not a lot gets done. But fundamentally, more than that, it would be just her sort of hands-off approach to governance. And I think there's been a certain amount of commentary on her of her lack of curiosity about a lot of things. I think the other thing would be that she's not the kind of person who would want to say, you know, I have this position. What does the other side in this say, so I can really test my own arguments? And, you know, I might actually learn something from the people that disagree with me. She's not like that at all. On the other hand, I think that we discussed last fall this idea of affinity politics with her, that she has a tremendous appeal here and elsewhere among a certain class of voters who look at her and say, you're like me. You represent me and your values, how you conduct your life, the struggles that you have. In some ways, I think that's endeared her to some voters. I have some friends in Fairbanks who traveled the South during the winter, and everywhere they went, when people saw their Alaska license plates, people wanted to know, do you know Sarah Palin personally? I think she's wonderful. On the other hand, I was in Manhattan in January, and I told people I was from Alaska and had to personally defend myself, at least verbally, from people who were hysterical because they couldn't stand Sarah Palin. They somehow thought it was my fault.
Do you think Sarah Palin actually has aspirations to be president, or do you think she's leaving politics, or do you have no idea?
Boy, that's a really good question. I had wondered if she'd just say after what happened to her on the national tour, I'm getting out of politics altogether. I mean, I thought that was a possibility, and it's still a possibility. On the other hand, she has been enthusiastically received in many places. Todd Purdom describes the reception she got in Evansville, Indiana, from a select audience of people of like-minded philosophy. And, you know, if you see people who agree with you day in and day out, you can get a pretty good opinion of yourself and develop hey, lightning may strike, I may win, or maybe God is sending me. I got several emails from people who said, Sarah Palin is God's agent, and you better get with the program, Carey.
Would you list what you consider to be two of Sarah Palin's top achievements during her tenure as governor?
Well, first of all, it remains to be seen what's going to come out of her gas line proposal, but there is still an opportunity. She has set up a structure for building a gas line from the North Slope of Alaska to deliver gas to the Midwest market. And if that actually occurs, although it's going to unfold over a period of time that will include a period of time when she's not governor, that would be a significant legacy. She did participate in the raising of oil taxes and rewriting the ethics laws. But those were before she became governor, and I think legislators and even her staff would be hard-pressed to come up with a much of a list of performance-related successes after she came back here. I notice on this list that she put out of accomplishments, she lists transfer more control of public issues to the local level. Well, what does that mean?
What do you think it means?
I have no idea because she cites no specific example.
With the Sarah Palin resignation and all the mystery surrounding that and the scandal that forced Ted Stevens out of his position as state senator, is this a weird time for Alaskan politics?
It's a very weird time in Alaskan politics. Is the FBI going to continue its investigation of legislators and others here in Alaska? You may have noticed, and listeners may have noticed, that the FBI here in Anchorage, Eric Gonzalez, the agent spokesman, denied categorically that they were investigating Sarah Palin. I talked to Agent Gonzalez today, and he said the phone was ringing off the hook with people who had heard from bloggers and others that Palin was about to be indicted. And the FBI, which rarely responds to those kind of things, finally just said, we're going to tell them it's not true. And they did that. But yes, and it's going to be fascinating to see the candidates for governor, what they tell Alaskans they represent in contrast to Sarah Palin.
Any final thoughts you want to leave us with about Sarah Palin and the impact that she's had on your state, Alaska?
She is the biggest celebrity in the history of Alaska. She is the best-known Alaskan ever. Far bigger than Ted Stevens, who was a U.S. Senator for 40 years, far bigger than anybody who's ever been a governor. Most of the governors here would be only regionally known, if at all, or Steve Cooper became known somewhat during the oil spill. That probably is her legacy, is as the biggest celebrity we've ever produced. And that's the world that she operates in. Why she left, I think we can only find out here in a period of time. Will she go on to some television gig? Will she stay home and work on her book? Is she going to be a presidential candidate? We're going to find out, but it's unfortunate. But I think what we have to say here is the proverbial more information needed.
Well, Michael Carey, thank you so much for talking with us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Michael Carey is a columnist and former editorial page editor for the Anchorage Daily News.